Captain Jake Miller stared out the viewport at the massive scrapyard floating in space. Hundreds of derelict alien ships drifted in organized clusters, each one deemed obsolete by the sophisticated races of the Galactic Alliance. The space station where Jake and his small human crew were stationed was little more than a glorified recycling depot, tucked away in a forgotten corner of Alliance space. Another shipment of primitive technology for the humans to sort through, Jake muttered, reading the latest manifest. Only 3 years since humanity had joined the Alliance, and already they'd been relegated to garbage duty. The comm unit chimed. Captain Miller, Admiral Dorn of the Alliance Oversight Committee is requesting entry to the station. Jake straightened his uniform. Grant access. Have Tom and Lisa meet us in the main bay. Admiral Dorn was tall, with blue-tinted skin that shimmered under the station lights. 2 junior officers flanked him, their expressions barely concealing their disdain. Captain Miller, Dorn said, his translator giving his words a metallic edge. I've brought your new assignments. The committee has allocated these vessels for human study in possible part salvage. Jake reviewed the list on the datapad. Every ship was at least 4 generations behind current Alliance technology. Sir, with respect, these are all outdated models. Is there any possibility of accessing more recent technology? My engineers could learn more from. Dorn's facial ridges stiffened. The committee believes this technology is more appropriate for human capabilities. Your species has only just developed rudimentary space travel. More advanced systems would be wasted on you. Tom Wright, Jake's chief engineer, crossed his arms. We managed to build the Artemis colony ships without alien help. Our FTL theories were on the right track before contact. One of Dorn's aides made a sound that Jake's translator interpreted as laughter. Your FTL theories would have torn your ships apart. Be grateful the Alliance found you before you killed yourselves with your primitive machines. Lisa Chen, weapons specialist and former military engineer, stepped forward. We're quick learners, Admiral. Indeed, Dorn replied without conviction. Regardless, these are your assignments. The committee expects progress reports on what you're able to salvage. His tone made it clear he expected little. After the Admiral departed, Jake led his team through the scrapyard in a maintenance shuttle. They passed ships of various designs, some sleek and predatory, others bulbous and strange. Look at all this junk, Lisa said, her eyes scanning each vessel with professional interest. There's enough firepower here to outfit a small fleet if we could get it working. Tom nodded. Their power systems are inefficient by their standards, but compared to ours? We could learn so much. Jake's shuttle slowed as they approached a massive ship near the edge of the yard. Unlike the others, this one showed battle damage, scorch marks and hull breaches patched with temporary seals. What's that? Jake asked, pointing to the ship. Tom checked his datapad. The Indomitable. Heavy cruiser class, decommissioned after the border wars. Deemed too costly to repair and too outdated to be worth upgrading. Jake steered closer. Despite its damage, the ship had an imposing presence. At nearly half a kilometer long, it dwarfed anything humans had built. It's still structurally sound, Lisa observed. Power core is intact according to these readings. Something sparked in Jake's mind. Remember what Dr. Park said before we left Earth? The greatest human advantage is seeing value where others see waste. He docked the shuttle at a maintenance port, and they entered the dead ship. Emergency lighting activated automatically, casting red shadows through the corridors. Central Command still has power, Tom said wonderingly. Core systems are in hibernation, not fully decommissioned. In the massive bridge, Jake ran his hand along a control panel. They've stripped the weapons, the shields are minimal, and the drive system is outdated by Alliance standards. Lisa's eyes gleamed in the dim light. But not by ours. Jake looked at his two most trusted crew members. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Tom grinned. That the Alliance just handed us the foundation for something they'd never expect humans to build? Exactly, Jake said, his mind racing with possibilities. They mock our technology, restrict our access, and then give us a ship they consider worthless. Their mistake, Lisa said firmly. Jake gazed out the bridge viewport at the stars beyond. We're going to prove them wrong. We'll turn their scrap into the most formidable ship the galaxy has ever seen. This power core is unlike anything we've seen before, Tom said, hunched over a holographic display inside the Indomitable's engine room. Even in this outdated state, it's leagues beyond our fusion reactors. Jake nodded, watching as his chief engineer's fingers flew across the alien interface. They'd spent 3 days just learning how to access the ship's basic systems. Can we get it operational? Jake asked. Yes, but there's a problem. Tom pointed to a series of fluctuating readings. The Vex design philosophy values elegance over practicality. Their power distribution network requires perfect calibration. That's why they abandoned this ship. The battle damage created microfractures in the conduits that their automated systems couldn't compensate for. Lisa entered carrying a tablet filled with her analysis of the weapons systems. Same story with the weapons bay. They stripped most of it, but left the targeting computers and power conduits. They're designed for precision, not adaptability. Jake smiled. That's where we come in. Humans have been jury-rigging solutions since we discovered fire. He led them to a makeshift planning room they'd set up. On the wall hung a crude diagram of the ship, with notes scribbled across every section. The Alliance races focus on technological purity, keeping systems separate and perfect. But what if we combine technologies? The Orion's shield generators are inefficient but robust. The Vex power system is elegant but fragile. What if we created a hybrid? Tom's eyes widened. That's actually brilliant. The Alliance races would never consider it because they think cross-system integration is beneath them. Exactly, Jake tapped the diagram. We create redundancies where they see wastefulness. We build adaptability where they demand perfection. Lisa gestured to her tablet. I've been studying the weapon mounts. We could adapt Terran railgun principles to work with Vex power systems. The Alliance discarded projectile weapons centuries ago, but that means they've also forgotten how to defend against them. We'll need more people, Tom said. And supplies. Jake nodded. I've already contacted Earth. They're sending 20 more engineers who've been studying alien tech. As for supplies. He grinned. The Alliance considers us so harmless that they don't even bother monitoring what we salvage. For the first time since joining the Alliance, humanity's position as technological underdogs might become their greatest advantage. Later that night, Jake stood alone on the bridge of the dormant warship. In the dim light, he could almost see what it would become, not an elegant alien vessel, but something uniquely human, adaptable, resourceful, unexpected. The comm unit on his belt chirped. Captain, Alliance inspection shuttle incoming. ETA 15 minutes. Jake smiled grimly. Cover our tracks. Operation Phoenix goes dark until they leave. Their work had just begun, but already Jake could feel it, the vision taking shape, a ship born from scrap but destined for greatness. Sparks cascaded like miniature stars as Lisa welded together components never meant to coexist. Across the massive engine room, now bustling with human engineers, similar scenes played out as the Phoenix took shape. The Orion cooling system is online, called out Ben, a stocky engineer with perpetually grease-stained hands. But it's fighting with the Vex power matrix. They're like arguing neighbors. Tom wiped sweat from his brow. That's because we're asking them to talk to each other when they were designed to be isolated. Try the adapter we built yesterday. 3 months had passed since they'd begun their secret project. What had started with 3 people had grown to a team of 25, each working tirelessly to transform the abandoned wreck into something revolutionary. Jake entered the engine room, stepping carefully over bundles of cables and makeshift tools. Alliance supply ship incoming. They've cut our resource allocation again. Of course they have, Lisa muttered, not looking up from her work. Can't have the primitive humans getting too many toys. It doesn't matter, Jake said, his confidence unwavering. We'll make do with what we have. That's what humans have always done. The team had developed an uncanny ability to repurpose alien technology in ways its creators never imagined. Air filtration components became part of an enhanced stealth system. Outdated navigation computers were networked together to create a predictive combat AI that operated on human intuition rather than rigid alien logic. "Captain, you need to see this," Rick called from his workstation. The young programmer had been working for weeks on what he called the impossible project. Jake made his way to Rick's station, where a holographic display showed what looked like a chaotic jumble of energy signatures. "Is that what I think it is?" Jake asked, hardly daring to hope. Rick nodded excitedly. "It works. The shield harmonics from 3 different alien races, all operating in concert. When one frequency fails, another automatically compensates. It's like having 3 shields in one." "The Alliance races would never attempt this," Tom said, joining them. "They'd consider it inelegant, a technological abomination." "But it works," Jake said simply. "And that's all that matters." Later that evening, as most of the crew rested, Jake walked the half-finished corridors of the Phoenix. What had once been an alien vessel was becoming something new, neither human nor alien, but a hybrid born of necessity and innovation. In the weapons bay, Lisa was still working, assembling what looked like a cannon built from parts of at least 4 different technologies. "You should rest," Jake said, approaching her. She shook her head. "The power calibration is almost complete. This hybrid railgun will punch through shields that have never faced kinetic weapons." Jake placed a hand on her shoulder. "We're creating something unprecedented here." Lisa finally looked up, determination in her eyes. "The aliens think we're just playing with their scraps. They have no idea what's coming." As if in answer, the lights throughout the ship flickered momentarily as the hybrid power core surged with newfound strength. The Phoenix was awakening. The warning klaxon blared throughout the maintenance station, sending Jake sprinting toward the main docking bay. Tom's voice crackled over his comm unit. "Alliance inspection vessel approaching. It's Admiral Dorn, and he's bringing a science team." Jake swore under his breath. "How long do we have?" 20 minutes, maybe less. Initiate Protocol Dark. Move all personnel to the secondary station." Jake's mind raced through options. "Is there time to move the Phoenix?" "No way," Tom replied. "We're mid-calibration on the core. Shutting it down now could destabilize everything we've built." Jake reached the command center where Lisa was already coordinating the team's response. Dozens of monitoring screens showed different sections of the Phoenix, now powered down to minimal levels. "We can mask some of the modifications," Lisa said, "but not all of them. The weapon systems are too integrated now." Jake nodded grimly. "We knew this day would come. Time to face the music." Admiral Dorn wasn't alone. Behind him stood 4 senior Alliance officials representing different species, all wearing the distinctive insignia of the Technology Oversight Committee. "Captain Miller," Dorn's voice was cold. "We've received unusual energy readings from this sector. Patterns inconsistent with standard recycling operations." Jake maintained a neutral expression. "We've been testing components, Admiral. Learning about Alliance technology through hands-on examination." A tall, spindly alien stepped forward. Jake recognized the species, a Terran, known for their engineering prowess. These readings suggest full system integration, not mere examination, the Terran said, suspicion evident in its modulated voice. Show us. There was no avoiding it. Jake led the delegation through the maintenance tunnels toward the Phoenix's docking bay. As the massive ship came into view, audible gasps escaped several of the visitors. The Phoenix was still clearly recognizable as an Alliance cruiser, but the modifications were obvious. External power conduits, retrofitted weapons mounts, and a hull reinforced with materials salvaged from multiple vessels. "What have you done?" Admiral Dorn whispered, shock evident in his voice. "What you thought we couldn't do," Jake answered simply. "We've rebuilt her." The inspection team boarded, their initial contempt quickly turning to bewilderment as they toured the hybrid vessel. In the engine room, the Terran engineer stopped, studying the merged power systems with obvious disbelief. "This shouldn't work," he stated. "Vex and Orion systems are fundamentally incompatible." Tom couldn't hide his pride. "Yet they are working. We created adaptive interfaces where your people saw insurmountable differences." In the bridge, Admiral Dorn finally lost his composure. "This is unacceptable. You've cobbled together technologies without understanding their principles. This abomination could destabilize and destroy half the station." "We've run every safety protocol," Jake countered. "The Phoenix is sound." "Phoenix?" one of the officials questioned. "A creature from Earth mythology that rises from ashes," Lisa explained. "Like this ship, rising from what you considered scrap." Dorn's facial ridges darkened with anger. "This ends now. I'm ordering this vessel decommissioned immediately." "You've overstepped your authority, Captain Miller." Before Jake could respond, an emergency signal blared through the ship's comm system. A frantic voice cut through. "Alliance Outpost Sigma-9 under attack. Unknown hostile forces. We need immediate assistance." The blood drained from Admiral Dorn's face. "Sigma-9 is only 2 light-years from here. The nearest Alliance battle group is 3 days out," one official said. All eyes turned to the Phoenix. Jake met Dorn's gaze. "We can help." "This is madness," Admiral Dorn protested as the Phoenix's hybrid engines hummed to life. "This vessel hasn't even completed proper testing protocols." Jake secured himself in the captain's chair while his crew worked with practiced efficiency around him. "With respect, Admiral, we don't have time for protocols. Sigma-9 needs help now." The Alliance officials had been given a choice: stay behind or join what might be a suicide mission. To Jake's surprise, all of them, including the skeptical Terran engineer, had chosen to remain aboard. "Hybrid drive engaging," Tom announced from the engineering station. "Power level stable, mostly." The Phoenix shuddered as its makeshift systems synchronized. Through the viewport, the scrapyard fell away as the ship moved under its own power for the first time. Preparing for FTL jump, Lisa called from navigation. "Our calculations suggest we can reach Sigma-9 in under 30 minutes. The Terran engineer's eyes widened. "Impossible. Even our fastest ships would need at least 2 hours. "Watch and learn," Jake said with quiet confidence. "Execute jump." The stars blurred as the Phoenix leapt into FTL space, its human-modified drive creating a tunnel through reality that Alliance engineers had never considered possible. The ship groaned under the strain, but held together. 27 minutes later, they emerged above Outpost Sigma-9. The scene that greeted them was chaotic. 3 sleek, black vessels of unknown design were systematically destroying the outpost's defenses. Half the station was already in ruins. "Hostile ships detected," Lisa reported. "No match in Alliance databases." Jake nodded grimly. "This is why we built the Phoenix. Not for recognition, but for moments like this." He turned to Admiral Dorn. Sir, I respectfully request permission to engage. Dorn stared at the destruction unfolding before them. You have it, Captain Miller. Weapons online, Lisa called. Hybrid shields at maximum. Jake leaned forward. Let's show them what human ingenuity can do. The Phoenix dove into battle, moving with an agility that belied its size. The enemy vessels immediately redirected their attention, clearly recognizing the greater threat. They're firing. Tom shouted as energy beams lanced toward them. The hybrid shields flared, not failing as a single system might, but adapting, layers of protection compensating for each other's weaknesses. The Phoenix shuddered but pressed forward. Return fire, Jake ordered. The railgun system Lisa had constructed unleashed projectiles accelerated to near-relativistic speeds. The first enemy vessel, unprepared for physical ammunition, took a direct hit. Its shields, designed to disperse energy weapons, did nothing against the kinetic impact. The ship cracked open like an egg. The Alliance officials watched in stunned silence as the Phoenix continued its assault, unleashing weapons and defensive measures unlike anything in their experience. The remaining enemy vessels, facing unexpected resistance, attempted to retreat. Don't let them escape, Jake commanded. If they report back what they've seen, the next attack will be worse. Within minutes, the battle was over. The Phoenix hovered triumphantly amidst the debris of 3 destroyed enemy vessels, its hybrid systems humming with power. Admiral Dorn approached Jake, his expression unreadable. It seems, Captain Miller, that I owe you an apology. The enemy vessels have been identified as Vorax scouts, Admiral Dorn announced to the assembled Alliance Emergency Council. 3 days had passed since the battle at Sigma 9, and the Phoenix had been escorted to Alliance headquarters. Jake stood before the council alongside his crew, uncomfortable in the formal diplomatic chamber. The massive holographic display showed the wreckage analysis of the destroyed enemy ships. Scouts, an Orion counselor questioned. You mean there are more? Dorn nodded grimly. Long-range sensors have detected a fleet massing beyond the Cater Nebula. Conservative estimates put their numbers at over 200 warships. Their trajectory suggests they'll reach Alliance core worlds within 2 weeks. Murmurs of alarm spread through the chamber. The Alliance, while technologically advanced, had maintained only a modest defensive fleet during centuries of relative peace. Our current forces are insufficient, a military commander admitted. We can field perhaps 60 capital ships, and many of those are older models. All eyes turned to Jake and the Phoenix. The council leader, a wizened being with crystalline features, leaned forward. Captain Miller, your vessel achieved what our military analysts deemed impossible. You defeated 3 Vorax ships using unorthodox methods. Scrap and ingenuity, Jake replied simply. We saw potential where others saw junk. Tom stepped forward. The Phoenix isn't unique. Every scrapyard in Alliance space is filled with vessels and technology we could repurpose. Humans across your worlds have been studying your discarded tech for years now. What are you suggesting? The council leader asked. Jake met the alien's gaze. Give us access to every scrapyard, every decommissioned ship, every obsolete weapon system. Let humans do what we do best, improvise, adapt, and overcome. You want to build more hybrids? Dorn asked, the word no longer carrying its previous disdain. A fleet of them, Jake confirmed. Each modified for specific combat roles, each incorporating human approaches to problem solving. The council withdrew to deliberate, leaving the humans waiting anxiously. When they returned, their decision was unanimous if reluctant. The Alliance hereby authorizes Project Phoenix to be expanded to all available facilities. Captain Miller will coordinate with human engineers throughout Alliance space. Jake nodded, already planning. We'll need to work fast. 2 weeks isn't much time. Within days, the message spread throughout human settlements across the galaxy. Engineers, mechanics, and problem-solvers of all kinds converged on Alliance scrapyards. Derelict ships were awakened from their slumber, their systems reimagined and repurposed. In orbit around a distant mining colony, Lisa supervised the retrofitting of outdated cruisers with new weapon systems. "The Vorax have sent advance ships to investigate," she reported to Jake via hologram. "They seem particularly interested in our activities." Jake watched from the bridge of the Phoenix as a dozen newly modified ships performed maneuvers outside Alliance headquarters. "Let them come. They think they're facing the Alliance, but they're about to encounter humanity instead." Tom approached with the latest report. "The fleet is taking shape, but we'll need more time." "Time," Jake said grimly, "is the one resource we don't have." The vast emptiness of space near the Proxima star system filled with the imposing silhouettes of two opposing forces. On one side, the sleek, uniform vessels of the Vorax fleet, 200 warships arranged in perfect formation, their black hulls absorbing starlight like shadows given form. On the other, the mismatched collection of vessels that constituted humanity's answer, 87 ships of various sizes and designs, no two exactly alike. Each had begun as Alliance scrap, but now bristled with hybrid technology and improvised weapons systems. At their center flew the Phoenix, battle-scarred but proud. In the Alliance headquarters, officials watched tensely through long-range sensors. "This is madness," one whispered. "They're outnumbered more than 2-1. Admiral Dorn, standing apart from his peers, shook his head. "Numbers aren't everything. The humans have shown us that repeatedly." Aboard the Phoenix, Jake addressed the captains of the human fleet through a shared communication channel. "Remember your training. Remember what we built these ships to do. The Vorax expect uniformity and conventional tactics. Give them neither." The enemy fleet began its advance, moving in the rigid patterns that had conquered a dozen systems before encountering humanity. Energy weapons charged, targeting systems locked onto the approaching human vessels. "Execute Plan Chaos," Jake ordered. What followed defied conventional space combat doctrine. Instead of maintaining formation, the human fleet fragmented into seemingly random patterns. Ships dove between enemy vessels, using the Vorax's own formations against them. When the enemy fired, they often hit their own ships as the humans' improvised stealth systems confused targeting arrays. On the Phoenix's bridge, Lisa monitored the battle while controlling their hybrid weapons systems. "Their shields are strong against energy weapons but vulnerable to our railguns. They're adapting, though, shifting shield harmonics." "Then we shift ours faster," Jake replied. "Transmit adaptive patterns to the fleet." The human ships began cycling through weapon configurations, never using the same approach twice. The Vorax, programmed for pattern recognition, found themselves unable to predict the next attack. The tide turned when the Phoenix executed a maneuver that should have been impossible, diving directly through the enemy formation, its hybrid shields absorbing punishment from a dozen directions while its weapon struck at the exposed command ships. The central Vorax flagship, a massive vessel twice the size of any other, turned its full attention to the Phoenix. Energy beams of unprecedented power lanced out, striking the human vessel squarely. For a moment, it seemed the Phoenix would finally fall. Its shields flickered, sections of its hull glowed white-hot from the assault. "Reroute all power to the core drive," Jake ordered as systems failed around them. "Execute final protocol." Tom's voice was steady as he confirmed the order. "May want to hold on to something, Captain." The Phoenix, wounded but defiant, accelerated directly toward the enemy flagship. At the last possible moment, it discharged its power core in a controlled overload, not a self-destructive explosion, but a precisely calibrated electromagnetic pulse unlike anything the galaxy had seen. The Vorax flagship went dark, its systems paralyzed by the unexpected attack. Throughout the enemy fleet, ship after ship lost power as the pulse cascaded through their connected systems. The battle was over in minutes. The remaining Vorax vessels, cut off from command, retreated in disarray. In the silence that followed, Jake looked out at the stars. "Not bad for a bunch of scrap," he said quietly.